Hey everyone, Dale here, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at the Audi RS6 Avant. For those of you that are new here, if you have a quick check of the description below, it tells you a little bit about my background, who I used to work for, why manufacturers listen to my opinion, and why I'm not just some random dude on the internet trying to talk about vehicle specification. So this is an exercise I would do with a manufacturer. What we're going to do today is effectively look at if Audi charge you, let's say for example, £5,000 or £10,000 to jump up in specification, is the specification that they include actually worth that money or not? A couple of caveats. This is going to be based on a 3-year valuation. So it's a typical finance agreement here in the UK, and I assume in quite a lot of places around the world. So the number might seem lower than you're expecting it to be, but that's because I'm looking 3 years into the future for a typical PCP or hire purchase finance agreement. The next bit is that the specification we're going to look at is straight from their website. It's a summary page of their trim lines, and there's going to be 4 or 5 or 6 different items that they've put on their website that sort of highlight the specification. So Audi have deemed this important enough to put front and center for the customer in the hope that that customer will actually click through to that vehicle and potentially order it. So because they've done that, that's all I'm going to value today. Obviously I'm aware and you're aware that there's more specification in these vehicles than what they're highlighting here, but they've deemed it important enough to put it front and center on the page like this, so that's how I'm going to value it today. So I'm going to record my screen as usual and we'll get started. So as we can see at the top here, we've got the standard Audi RS6 Avant. It costs £96,910. So very expensive for an estate car, even if it does have monumental performance. We'll quickly just run through the specification. 21-inch 10-spoke star design alloy wheels, HD matrix LED headlamps with Audi laser light and dynamic light design and turn signal, RS specific animation and darkened, MMI navigation plus with MMI touch, twin touch screens 10.1 inch and 8.6 inches with haptic and acoustic feedback, RS sports seats in front in leather Valcona with RS honeycomb stitching including seat ventilation, Quattro with sports differential and dynamic all-wheel steering. Whew, okay, so that's the basic version, but obviously I've said at the beginning of the video we're going to talk about whether it's worth jumping up into the various specifications that they offer. They only offer 3 in total. They offer the standard RS6 Avant, the Avant Carbon Black and the Vorsprung version. So you're going to see some numbers in a second as I scroll down here. So on the left there, I've just got an arrow just pointing between the 2 prices of the various specifications. The far left, you've got 7,900, and that's the difference between those vehicles. So that's what you'd pay Audi to jump up in specification. In the center there, you've got my 3-year valuation. And on the right-hand side, you've got the total of that valuation. Really, really simple. So let's just run through the spec, just so we understand what we're looking at. So we've got alloy wheels, black gloss turned finish, carbon black styling package, Audi rings and logos in gloss black, RS interior design package in grey, carbon twill inlays. So if we just go back to the alloy wheels, and if you've seen my videos before where I talk about alloy wheels, you can skip ahead a little bit and I'll just explain it for anyone who's new. So I've got a 0 next to the alloy wheels there. It's a very specific reason why that's done. So from a valuation perspective, we don't add any additional value for alloy wheels. The only way that we add value to wheels is if they change material effectively. So if you had the basic version of an Audi RS6, it came with steel wheels, which would absolutely never happen, but if it did, if it came with steel wheels and then went to alloy wheels, there'd be an intrinsic value benefit. Again, if it went from alloy wheels to titanium, get another benefit. To magnesium, to carbon fibre, so on and so forth. But because every single vehicle in the RS6 Avant lineup gets alloy wheels as standard, even though they change style and size, they don't get any additional value. It's the way the valuation works from the company I work for, and I assume other valuation services would do the same as well. So that's why it's got a 0 next to it. Carbon black styling package, front spoiler. So I'll just highlight some of these things and we'll try and get the other vehicle into view here so we understand what we're looking at. So if we look at the very bottom vehicle, we've got front spoiler, so that's this bit down here. Front side flaps, so that is this bit here, clues in the name, front side flap. Side sill inserts, rear diffuser, which we can't see in this image. Trim strips on the side windows, which is around this area here. and rails in matte black. So again, just the roof rails there. And obviously, if we look at the top image, you can see that they're in silver up there, and that bit silver. Got wing mirrors in silver. If I just scroll a little bit more, sorry. The window frames are in silver, and the roof rails are in silver as well. So I've added £2,500 for the carbon styling package. I might be a little bit light, but I have to take into account that carbon engineering and manufacture and implementation might change shape in the future in terms of how it's processed and costs, and will it be more freely available on other vehicles within the Audi range or on other vehicles from other manufacturers? Will there be a change in how carbon is perceived? Will we move to forged carbon like you see on Lamborghini? They'll come down to the Audi product, and therefore it makes the standard carbon less desirable. So you've got to take these things into account when you come into evaluation. So I've been reasonably conservative, but I still think I've given a little bit of good money there, of £2,500 for a carbon black styling package. Audi rings and logos in gloss black. Obviously I don't need to highlight this, but I will do anyway. I've included those in the carbon black styling package valuation. All Audi have done is just itemize it as a separate item to basically show off, how stealthy it looks, and really show, the Audi rings are in black. I wouldn't personally put it as a piece of specification there, but Audi have deemed it important enough to do that. RS interior design package in grey. I had a look at some pictures side by side of this. It does change the look of the interior a little bit. It makes it a little bit more darker. I'm not sure about the texture because I haven't driven the RS6, but I've added a little bit of value there, but not a massive amount, just because it's a styling change and the interior does change from a visual point of view. So I've added £300 there, and again, this is all done for a 3-year valuation. So if you were buying a vehicle today and you want to sell it in 3 years, I think that specific piece of specification is worth about £300 in addition. Carbon twill inlays I've given 0. So total there, £2,800. You part ways with £7,900. That's what you give Audi. So it might look like quite a big difference, but actually it's not too bad, the specification they've put into this RS6 Avant Carbon Black. But we're going to move on now to the next version and the final version, which is the Vorsprung version. I'll run through the specification, and I'll run through the values to the side there. You have to pay obviously £9,500 in addition to the carbon black version to get into the Vorsprung. The alloy wheels are titanium matte gloss turned finish. They're not titanium, as far as I can tell. It just says titanium matte gloss turned finish. So that's just the style of them and how they've been cut. So I've given 0 value for that because they are just alloy wheels again. RS Sport Suspension Plus with dynamic ride control, what Audi called DRC. I've added a little bit of value there, £750 worth in 3 years' time, because it changes the handling dynamics of the car, potentially the ride, how it drives. I think that is desirable within the market that it sits in. So I've added a little bit of value because I think it would influence a buyer's purchasing decision, potentially. Top speed increased to 280 kilometres or 174 miles an hour, as we know it here in the UK. No additional value for something like that. Maybe in a German market that will be more desirable, but here in the UK we can't do that on the public roads. So there's no additional value for something like that. Gloss black styling package, front spoiler, front side flaps, side sill inserts, rear diffuser, trim strips on the side windows in gloss black, roof rails in matte black, and Audi rings in gloss black. So this is an additional £500 for the gloss black styling package. The reason why it gets a little bit more money, £500, is primarily due to things like the insurance. So carbon would be very expensive to replace, so I imagine the insurance on the carbon black is actually quite expensive. I think it looks a lot better, and for the reasons I've mentioned before about carbon potentially moving and changing into things like forged and being less desirable in the market going forward, whereas gloss black generally stands the test of time, or at least it has done in the past 10 years. So I've added a little bit of additional value because I think it's a little bit more desirable. I think if you want the carbon version, then that's the one you're going to go for because you want all the carbon pieces. But I think generally you'd want the black, or the gloss black in this case. And then finally, you've got the panoramic glass sunroof, and I've added an additional value there of £750 worth of value, giving a total value of £2,000. There are bits of specification that Audi have not listed on here that I've had a look at. One is the 360 camera, which would get additional value. Bang & Olufsen audio, a tiny amount of value, wouldn't get a lot. Even though it's Bang & Olufsen, it doesn't really mean much from a valuation perspective. And a sports exhaust. So, a couple of issues with the specification is that the gloss black styling package I wouldn't put on the Vorsprung version. I would put on the I'd go back a specification, I'd get rid of the name Carbon Black, and I'd have that version just called the Black Edition, and I'd have the Vorsprung called the Carbon Black, and I'd have all the carbon pieces put onto this particular model. Just seems to me, in terms of the naming convention, you know, you call something Carbon Black, and it comes with carbon black pieces, and then you jump up to the Vorsprung version, and it comes with gloss black, but they call it the Vorsprung. So it doesn't really make sense to me how they've named these vehicles. So I'd probably get rid of, no, I wouldn't get rid of the naming. I'd just change the naming around and I'd change a few pieces of specification around. 360 camera, I mean, if I'm paying £90,000 to buy an Audi RS6, I want a 360 camera included, Audi. I don't want to have to jump up, you know, a significant amount of money to be able to get a 360 camera in my vehicle. Bang & Olufsen audio, I don't really care that too much about. Sports exhaust, I can see an argument for being in the top spec version, you know, a desirable option that they obviously want to try and get customers into. But generally, the Vorsprung, I would personally, this is my own personal opinion, I'd avoid the Vorsprung version. I don't think it's worth the money that they ask for, especially because you don't get the carbon bits on it, you just get black bits. I think you're paying more for the panoramic glass sunroof and the, you know, the sport suspension and things like that. I also wouldn't get the carbon black version either and pay Audi an additional £7,900. I don't think that's worth it either. I would just go for the base RS6 Avant. You know, as expensive as it is, that is the one I would personally go for. And I'd either go to an external third party and get bits, you know, bits and pieces of the car that I wanted black done in black for less than Audi are charging. And then I'd add options or whatever options I deem desirable. You know, if you can get panoramic sunroof on the base version, I'd probably do that. If you can option out things like the dynamic suspension, I'd probably do that as well. So avoid the carbon black version, in my opinion. Avoid the Vorsprung version, in my opinion. Go for the standard RS6 if you have the means and ability to do so. So hopefully that was a reasonably quick video. Hopefully it was reasonably informative. If you liked it, obviously give it a like, helps the YouTube algorithm. If you want to see more videos like this or make suggestions, please subscribe and comment below. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.